Good evening, parents. I'd also like to say good evening to Miss Ritu, Mr. Michael, and Miss Seema as well, coming in for this session, and of course, my SLT and all the parents and the students that are in this session. Firstly, we will have a number of sessions like this, and I really am excited to when we can all get together live, of course, after recent times. Um, I just wish that everybody is safe and well wherever you are, and that even though the last 6 weeks or so has been extremely challenging, that you're all okay. I certainly have missed you tremendously. Coming into school every day, it is the most beautiful place in the world when it is open, but when it is closed and nobody is in there, it's very depressing. But this won't be for long, and we will all get through this together, and we will 100% come out stronger, and I believe that will be very, very soon. um, I would just like to say that, as a principal of a number of years both in the UAE and the founding principal of Ambassador International Academy, and also as well leading schools in England, um, I call it the business end, really, of a child's journey. It is so important for students, even more so in this competitive world that we're in, for them to have far more than just the qualification that they receive at the end of their schooling. There are so many other things that they need to support them and help them to ultimately get into their first choice university, and on their career paths to very successful futures. And part of that process, which makes an IB school unique actually, is the personal and social skills and the lifelong skills that IB schools across the world develop in students from a very young age, that sets them apart actually from students who go through other systems. Another key aspect, a key pillar of their success to get into that first choice university is, university counselling, guidance, and support for those next steps. It's absolutely crucial, and even more so over recent years as things get more and more competitive across the world. So it gives me great pleasure and great pride as we're looking ahead to this year, um, to be able to work extremely closely with, the Princeton Review, which is a very famous global company that supports students to getting into the best universities in the world, particularly in the US, but not only, and also as well Score Plus, um, the Middle East leaders in also supporting schools, um, numerous IB schools, but not only IB schools, in getting into the very best universities, but not only in the US as well, but across the world. And for Ambassador International Academy to have this joint partnership, this joint collaboration, with the Princeton Review and Score Plus, make things extremely special. And that was always my dream, as the founding principal. When I first started at the school, I remember the first student coming in, walking through the gates, and looking at the building as it was being constructed, and getting so excited that one day students would be going on to universities. But now to have the support with Score Plus and the Princeton Review to enable those students to be successful and ultimately, as I've mentioned, get their first choice offers. That's what it's all about. And I'm delighted to say, and before I pass on to the team tonight, as we look ahead to this summer, we are predicting an average point score of 36 plus, which is phenomenal for the DP, and CP students if you combine that, and outstanding BTEC results as well. And I think that this is a testament, to the teachers, to the leaders, to the governors, and also as well our partnership with Score Plus and the Princeton Review. But also as well, it gives me great pride to say, that all of our students have been offered their first choice places. at the moment for this summer. And that was always a dream of mine many years ago as I started this role. And I'd just like to thank everybody who's contributed to that. And I'm really excited, not only for this webinar this evening, um, but for future sessions and especially live sessions. And we've had sessions, a lot of sessions this year anyway, which has actually supported our grade 12 students to be so successful in their university applications for this summer. So I'd like to thank and introduce Ms. Ritu Kalwani, the Director and Head Counsellor at Score Plus, Mr. Michael Gimiri, the keynote speaker from Princeton Review, who's actually, I believe, in the United States now, I think Orange County, such a beautiful part of the world, who's going to be keynote speaker for today as well, and Ms. Seema Krishna, Assistant Manager and Head Counsellor at Score Plus. So over to you, team. It's a pleasure to have you on board, supporting our students so that our students get the very best. And also thanks to SLT for your continued work and dedication over the last few weeks, and also parents out there today who've supported the school in these difficult times, and you've certainly supported your teachers tremendously, and of course your children. So thank you very much. I'll hand over to the Score Plus and Princeton Review team. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, first of all, Mr. James, for your kind introduction of Score Plus Education to the AI parent and students who have joined in today. Uh, First of all, I would like to definitely pass my regards to also the leadership team who has joined in today, Mrs. Sharmista, Ms. Disha, Ms. Manisha, and of course, from the college counseling team, Ms. Gori. It has been a pleasure working along with your team in the last 6 months while we have been spending time with the students of the grade 12, the parents, and of course have had interactions with the grade 11, the grade 10, and grade 9. And summing up our journey in AI in the last 6 months, I think this presentation really sets the real theme and the real point that we should start early. But of course, when we start early, there are so many different options. And that's the reason why we have chosen Navigating Futures. I mean, I really liked what you said is that, when you, as you were building AI, it reminded me of my early days when I was building Score Plus. And I think and I believe strongly is that, when you start early, and when you see the success stories of your students, it's really stemming from the place of, building a strong academic foundation, exploring their interests, trying to reduce their stress, instead of course, leaving everything to the final year of high school. So I would say that, yes, the success of those students really comes from a place of early planning, mapping out their coursework, and of course Michael is going to discuss all those points. But at the end of the day, for a parent who is investing in this, not just the high school, but of course the higher education, there's a lot that goes into it as a parent as well. So we're here to even talk to the parents, open for a nice Q&A at the end of the program. And but of course, you have already introduced Score Plus, so I don't have to really say much about it. And I would like to introduce, of course, one of our other key members, Ms. Kylie. She is one of our senior instructors taking care of our test preparation program. And she also looks after our college counseling students, including the AI students that she has worked with in this past, admission cycle. And I think I don't want to speak more except that pass on the buck to Michael, and we listen to this exciting session that he has today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ritu. And it's great to be back with AIA, even if it has to be online. and we've got a lot of great things to discuss. So I'm just going to jump right in. As was noted, we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, but we do have the Q&A button. So please go ahead and jump in there and ask questions in the Q&A section as they pop up, and we'll do our best to get to as many of them at the end of the presentation. So what we're talking about is this roadmap, and we've set out a couple milestones, and when we think about where we want to go, we think about the destination, well, we've got to back up and we've got to say, well, where are we starting from? And it starts from getting to know you. It starts from just trying to understand you. And I want to be very, very clear. For the students out there, you don't have to know. You don't have to have it all figured out. You do have to start thinking about it. And that's what we want to make sure is that we're driving this thought process, and this thought process of knowing who you are and what you might like to pursue is going to make sure that you're on that right path. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend a little bit of time on each of these milestones. And so, like I said, I'll just jump right in. So when we think about when you think about yourself and you think about getting to know yourself, well, there's lots of different aspects to what that means, and there are some questions. Again, you don't need to have the answers, but we're going to throw these questions out there to get you thinking. So again, the whole idea here is discovery and starting to get a sense of yourself, which then helps you to chart that path. Now, there are different ways in which we go about this. You'll see that we have the Ikigai diagram there on the right-hand side. And I love this because it starts to show this intersection of different areas, right? What are you good at? What do you love? And let's be very open to the fact that we also have to fulfill a role within greater society. What does the world need? And you'll notice that one of the circles there toward the bottom says, well, what can you be paid for? And I want to make sure that you know that this isn't just money. Obviously, we need to have careers and we need to pay our rent and all that good stuff. But I'm not talking about strictly what does it pay in terms of money, but it could be payback in fulfillment, in the fulfillment that you get when you do a good job, the fulfillment that you get when you're doing something that you love to do, and the fulfillment you get when you're meeting the needs of other people or what's available there in the world. So some other questions that you want to be thinking about is, again, this intersection or this sweet spot where you have more overlap among these different areas. So again, don't need all the answers, but you want to be asking yourself these questions, and then you're also developing things, right? Because I might love music. Let me give you an example. I might love music. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean I like to listen to music? Does that mean that I want to play a musical instrument? Does that mean that I want to write or compose music? So there's many ways that you can take something you love. In my made-up example of music, I have a very good friend who studied marketing. He loves music, and he does music marketing. So again, there's lots of different ways in which it can be defined. And then when you think about what you love and what you're good at, well, guess what? You might not be good at it right now. That's okay. You have that time to develop those skills. So again, it's the intersection of as many of these as possible. So when we talk about the career, we start to try to line things up. We start to line things up to say, well, okay, how does this then translate into a major? How does this translate into a field of study? Well, don't you worry about that. We don't need to get ahead of ourselves. Obviously, the older students who are with us tonight, they're going to be a little bit further down this path than the younger students. But again, you don't have to have all the answers. In terms of linking up what you love to do, what you're good at, what the world needs, how you can be, again, quote unquote, paid, this will naturally line up to majors. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in detail because there's going to be a lot of crossover, which of course gives you tremendous flexibility. So, all right, when we think about career interests, we're putting together, again, lots of different things, and look at the resources and the support that you have at AIA, right? Working with your teachers, working with your counselors, working with all the resources so that you can start to discover different things. You might have an opportunity to volunteer. You might have an opportunity to take a different class or approach a subject a little bit differently. You're going to be part of the community. You have lots of different things that are built in to the curriculum and built into your entire experience at AIA that helps you begin to identify things. And I will also say, it is just as important for you to figure out what you don't want to do as it is for you to figure out what you do want to do. So you might try something and say, wow, not for me. That's valuable. That's extremely valuable. So just know that through this discovery process, it's going to be a mixed bag of things that you do enjoy, but maybe some things that you don't. And that's good. And that's all part of the discovery and the learning as well. So we've got this fancy Howard Gardner guy, and he did some research and he said, you know what? It looks as though there are these 8 types of intelligences. And let's be very clear, it doesn't mean that you only have one of the 8. It's a mixed bag, but you might lean a little bit more in one area than another. So here are the 8 intelligences. Okay, so that's fine. Now, again, as you're thinking about the things that you are good at and the things that you want to do, well, then we have some of this research that supports different people and what they are, in fact, naturally drawn to. Again, you can be working to improve certain skills. And so if we take each of these and we say, okay, well, if I am the spatial intelligence type of person, well, notice that a pilot operates in 3-dimensional space. A pilot must be able to navigate within a 3-dimensional environment when he or she is flying an airplane. Well, guess what? A fashion designer needs to think about that 3-dimensional space and how, if I'm designing a dress, how the fabric flows, how it hangs on the body, how it moves with your motion. Wow, actually, I never thought of putting a pilot and a fashion designer together in the same grouping. But this is the point. The point is that there are a lot of intersections so that when you think about the things that you enjoy, the things that you're good at, notice that there can be these interesting intersections. So as you pursue a particular area, again, it's not that you only pursue one or another. There's a lot of crossover. Then you'll start to see these interesting combinations of things, right? So for example, you have kinesthetic. Kinesthetic is a lot of motion. This is the bottom left-hand corner. Okay, a dancer has to move his or her body. Well, in the same way that a sports person, but in the same way that maybe an actor uses the stage and uses his or her body in what they're doing. Or I could be on the other side as a physical therapist or someone in health science helping someone maybe rehabilitate from an injury, and I'm using that kinesthetic skill or interest in that fashion. So again, this is just some interesting ways to think about how your interests might overlap with certain careers. So these were the first 4 of the 8. And then here we have another 4. And we talk about different things like, oh, computer programming, logical, mathematical. Okay, sure. Those things kind of make sense to us probably, but you'll notice that there's going to be a lot of crossover in the different majors. So if we look at the upper right-hand corner and you're thinking computers and engineers and economists, okay, well, look at the bottom left-hand corner. Guess what? Those people are studying the same sciences that the logical mathematical people are. So remember, don't limit yourself, don't put yourself in a box, and notice how there's some interesting and really fun and exciting crossover within and among these these so-called intelligences. Now, when we again talk about major, we have to start to connect those dots. And I gave the example where if I want to be a farmer, I might study biology from the agricultural standpoint, just as I might study biology from an anatomical standpoint if I wanted to pursue a career in the health sciences. But biology is biology. And so then you go, oh, well, what's my major? Well, my major might be biology. But you'll notice that, again, this major of biology can be used in so many different ways. Now, you want to start to ask lots of questions. Well, the first one makes the most sense. Hey, what are you good at? What do you like? Gosh, I like biology. Gosh, I'm good at biology. And by the way, it's just as important for you to discover, I don't like biology. I'm not that good at biology. That's fine. That's all part of this discovery. I like this question that says, hey, when I'm doing something academic, when I'm doing something productive, oh my goodness, I lose all track of time. Well, what is that? And again, we're talking about productive things. We're not talking about how you might lose track of time sitting on the couch playing a video game, which, by the way, is a lot of fun, and you need to do that from time to time. But when we're talking about more productive endeavors, I'm reading a book. Oh my gosh, I'm reading this book and I lose all track of time. Or I'm sort of having fun because I taught myself how to program, and I'm doing this coding and I lose all track of time. Or whatever the case might be. So you want to think about those sorts of things. Now, it's also important for you not just to think about the different subjects, but you want to be thinking about the environment and the environment in which you work. And I think a good example would be one where you're working with people or you're not working with people. And again, there's no judgment here. There's no judgment. So, for example, I can be an engineer who wants to work, I want to be by myself. Give me a problem, leave me alone, I'm going to solve it. I know a lot of engineers who are like that. I also know engineers who want to be surrounded by other people. And they're both engineers, but the one who wants to be surrounded by people says, I want to be surrounded by people. I want to brainstorm. I want to collaborate. I want to work together. In the end, engineers do the work of engineering. They're solving problems. They're doing X, they're doing Y, they're doing Z. But notice how the environment is very different for engineer number one from engineer number two. Think about that and how you want to be in an environment where you can thrive. Now, when we start to actually give it a name, we're giving the career, we're giving the major a name, mathematics. And of course, we'd dig in a little bit more maybe, but we're talking about biology. We're talking about chemistry, physics. Well, if you look across these three, and I'll give you a few more here in a little bit. Well, I see physics, physics, and physics. I see physics in all of them. I see math in all of them. I see chemistry in all of them. I see biology in two of them. Well, wait a minute. Again, there's tremendous opportunity to be studying something that you like, and notice how it's going to open up a variety of career opportunities. So take this step at a time. You don't need to necessarily worry about the career opportunity. You can if you have an idea, but you don't have to. You could be just thinking about the subjects that you enjoy and the subjects that you're good at. So you can really approach it from many, many, many different angles. We have an example here of business versus arts and science versus social studies. Okay, great. Well, and then also when you notice the aptitudes, I'm starting to see a lot of things repeating. I'm seeing critical thinking in a few areas. I'm seeing problem solving in a few areas. And I can go back, of course, and show you that you're going to see these back here as well. So you can also be approaching it from the standpoint of aptitude, the things, the skills, the qualities that you enjoy and are good at. So there's lots of different angles. Don't limit yourself. If you have an idea of a career path, great, you can use that as a pathway. If you have an idea of a subject area, fine, you can use that as a pathway. But you can also use as a pathway maybe some aptitude or skill or quality that you find yourself enjoying. You know what? I really love to solve problems. And that might become part of, well, you know what? I like to play these puzzles and games because I like solving problems. Well, excellent. If you're solving problems, notice how problem solving is in just about every single one of these categories. Okay? So again, you can approach it from many different angles. All right, so as we talk about the majors and we talk about how they then line up to careers, wow, things are changing. Things are changing very, very fast. And we know that with AI, things are changing even more rapidly than they were even 6 months ago, 12 months ago. That's exciting. That's exciting. And I want to make sure that you're approaching it from the standpoint of excitement because, and we've talked about this before, do you know, especially for maybe some of the younger students, the career that you have might not even be invented right now. It might not even be invented. That's crazy, but it's not crazy because of how technology is changing so rapidly and how things are evolving. It's exciting. So know that even if your future career doesn't exist, it hasn't even been invented yet. Well, guess what? You still need to do certain things. You still need to have certain qualities and aptitudes, right? You still need to work with people. You still need to solve problems. You still need to think critically. You still need to analyze. So make sure that you're thinking about these different elements that you are drawn to. But then we also want to be mindful of the fact that, yeah, okay, AI is changing things. So that's good because now humans don't have to do these rote, boring, tedious tasks that an AI can do. We also know that the world is, and certainly the world should be, thinking more about sustainability. Okay, so then what about career areas that are aligned with sustainability? And we're seeing these demographic shifts, right? The world's population is aging. Wow. Okay. So then how does that impact different things, different careers? Not necessarily just healthcare, although healthcare is a good example of something that is going to be related to these demographic shifts. And so there's lots of other things. So again, this couldn't, of course, be exhaustive, but it just gives you some things to think about. Remember, you don't have to have all the answers, but you do need to start asking questions and thinking about it. So if we think about these different areas, and the World Economic Forum does a great job of identifying trends and starting to look ahead and these quote unquote emerging industries, well, they don't have all the answers, but at the same time, what they're noticing are certain patterns or certain things evolving within career areas. Okay, well then that's great. Let's go ahead and look at it. And we don't need to absolutely positively pick something and grab onto it and say that's it forever. If you have an idea, that's wonderful. But if not, you can just use these as part of this discovery process. And you think about, well, okay, I do like creativity and I do like technology. Well, I can meld my creativity with technology. Okay, I like and I'm very passionate about sustainability. All right, well then how do I use that? I can use that many different ways. I can use it as analyzing data, but I could also use it as in literally being out in the world doing things that might relate to the physical environment, even things like farming or protecting rainforests or biospheres or things of that nature. So there's lots of different opportunities. And then we see the next thing that says, okay, then how do I line up these career fields and these trends with specific areas, fields of study, and then the schools that are known for this, right? Principal James said, hey, we want you to be able to go into your first choice university. Okay, well, so we've got some schools here, some universities that are aligning themselves with particular fields of study. Now, as an undergraduate, there's a lot of openness to this. So you don't, again, this is just an example. I don't want you to think that if you want to do environmental science, you have to go to University of Toronto. University of Toronto is one of many, 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 many that support that field of study. But it's just an example. The point here is this is an example. And by using that example, you could say, okay, well, if I wanted to go to University of Toronto, well, then what do I need to do? Or any of these other schools. Again, these are just examples. This isn't like, oh, you have to go to Berkeley if you want to study economics. No, you don't. There's many, 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 many universities that that are going to be good for you in support of a field of study. Then that field of study lets you drive down even deeper to talk about what you're doing more specifically. So, right, you're drilling down into what exactly does that mean? What exactly is data structures and algorithms? Oh, that's interesting to me. Oh, that's not interesting to me. Now, when we talk about different universities, and I've made it very, very clear, I am not a fan of rankings. I do not like rankings at all. But we use them as examples. We use them as examples to get you thinking about different colleges and universities. It gets you thinking about different fields of study. It gets you thinking about different environments. And I think that's the key thing is environment. So if you look at the list on the left, let's just look at the list on the left. You see that somebody, in this case QS, says that MIT is number one. Okay, fine, whatever. I don't agree, but whatever. And then you see that QS says Caltech is 10th. Okay, fine. Well, what we know is that both MIT and Caltech are very, very selective, technical, and STEM universities. Okay, great. But the environments are very, very, very different. A student who would be really happy and thrive at MIT would be miserable at Caltech, miserable, and vice versa. Oh, I didn't know that. Many of you are going, what? I didn't know that. Well, you know it now. There is no reason for a student to apply to Caltech and MIT. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Because a student who's a great fit for MIT would be very unhappy at Caltech. And a student who's a great fit for Caltech would be very unhappy at MIT. Now, the nice thing is that these universities will often do us a favor. And they'll do us a favor by rejecting us. Well, that's a favor because what they're saying is, hey, we see that you're not a good fit. You're not going to be happy here. You might not be successful here. So we're doing you that favor. So remember that oftentimes the university does us the favor, but we want to do as much as we can on the front end to learn about these things, learn about ourselves. Remember, what was number one? Number one was learn about ourselves. And then say, oh, okay, now I understand. I am going to thrive in this environment. And these are the universities that support that environment, in addition to that field of study or that career path. Okay, now locally, we have a lot of very selective universities. Again, I'm not a fan of rankings, but this gives you some things to think about that says, okay, I see these selective universities. Well, what's the difference? Right? What's the difference? And do they support the learning environment where I'm going to thrive? Now, we're moving on to the next milestone in our roadmap. Remember, we had 4 little stops. We're moving on. Number 1 was getting to know yourself. Number 2 was thinking about these career paths or fields of study. And now we're saying, okay, well then how do I actually start to build my profile to be able to be in the driver's seat, right? As Principal James said, to be able to have an offer at your first choice university. Well, you need to start to put things together. You need to know yourself. You need to know how all of these different elements fit in to an application, and then you're filling out your application, whether it's the common application or some other one. All right, so you are building your profile. By the way, whether you knew it or not, you've been building your profile for years. Yes, even you younger students, you've been building your profile even though you didn't know it. Well, now we're going to start building that profile with more intention. We're going to be more deliberate. We're going to be very dedicated and, again, have intention on building a particular profile to seize a particular opportunity. And that opportunity that we're going to seize is to study the things that we want to study, do the things that we love to do, target a university that we feel is the right fit for us in order to, again, go on a particular career path. And this is this job of building that profile. Now, for the younger students, this is great. You've got a lot of time, and I love it. We've got sixth graders, we've got seventh graders. I love it. So again, explore, discover, and it's just as important for you to learn what you don't like as much as it is for you to figure out what you do like. Now, for students who are a little bit older, say grade 9, maybe grade 10, well, now we're at a point where you have to start making some decisions, right? You have to start to narrow things down a little bit. And hopefully you've had an opportunity to try a few things, many things, and you're starting to settle in. You're starting to settle in on those things that you love to do so that you can go deeper. Now you're in grade 11, you're in grade 12, and you're starting to not do a million things because you're too busy to do a million things, but the one or two things that you really, really love to do, you're able to go deeper in that. And you love it because those are the things that you love to do. So it makes sense that you would love to go deeper into those, again, 2 or 3 things. Now, when we talk about extracurriculars, we want to make sure that you are keeping top of mind, being intentional. I'm using that word very specifically, right? You want to do things with intention. And this is an extracurricular activity that allows you to develop leadership skills. These are extracurricular activities that are going to give you the opportunity to develop and showcase leadership skills. Now, you've probably heard that expression, oh, a born leader. Really? A born leader? Not in grade 9 or grade 10. These are learned skills. Well, guess what? Your extracurricular activities are the perfect place and the perfect way for you to develop those leadership skills. And let me be clear, this doesn't mean that you have to be president of the chess club. Oh, you're the leader because you're the president of the chess club. No. You can show leadership any way, every way, anywhere, anytime. And it doesn't matter what your title is. You can show leadership at home. You can show leadership in a club. You can show leadership in just working with you can show leadership at lunch. You can show leadership absolutely anywhere and everywhere. And that's the key, is that you're seizing these opportunities, particularly these extracurricular activities, to develop and showcase your leadership. And you can take anything that you do and you can turn a weak extracurricular leadership activity into a strong one, into a distinguished one. So let me be crystal clear. It is not which extracurricular leadership activity you do. It is what you do with whatever extracurricular leadership activity you choose. And you're going to choose the one that you love or the things that you love to do. Now, we've been talking about these selective universities, and so we're going to spend just a quick moment about that, because a selective university is one that really just has a problem of not enough chairs. So you have a lot of students applying to these universities, and they just don't have enough spots. So what do? If I've got all of these students applying, but I don't have enough chairs, do I just take the first, however many until I run out of chairs? Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no. It's much more sophisticated than that. Instead of just looking at my entire applicant pool and figuring out who qualifies, and then I just take the first however many until I run out of chairs. Oh, no. Selective schools aren't looking for the best students or the top students. Oh, nay, nay. They are looking for the right students. So they're going to pick and choose, look at the entire application pool, and I'm going to pick that student, that one over there, and this other one, and this other one. Because, by the way, you're all top students. You're all amazing. You're all wonderful. The question is, are you the right student for this particular university? Now, remember, the university sometimes helps us by rejecting us and saying, oh, no, no, you're not the right student for us. But we want to do as much as we can on the front end so that we are applying to the schools where we know we are a good fit, where we know that we are the right student. And that is going to help you, it's going to help them, it's going to help everybody. So what we want to make sure that we understand is, what is the university looking for? Well, we know what you're looking for. What are they looking for? Because this is a partnership. They know you are going to get a lot of goodness out of this. They know that you're going to get an amazing education, an amazing experience. You're going to get job opportunities. You're going to get friends. You're going to get networking. You're going to get a million things. Okay, well, what do they get? What are you going to give? What are you going to give? And you'll notice that we've moved on to number 4 on our roadmap, because now we're talking about actually applying to schools and universities. Well, what are they looking at? If we were to just simplify our lives and break it down into 3 pillars, well, they're looking for great grades. Okay, grades are important. Great test scores. Okay, test scores are important. And then we're looking for these great applications, and these are these different qualities. So note that you need great grades and you need great test scores, but they don't get you in. Low grades, low test scores will keep you out. But great grades and great test scores don't get you in. What gets you in are going to be these other things, these personal qualities that you've been developing, right? So we know that in the great grades category, it's going to be mostly academic stuff, which you see there on the left-hand side. We know that in great test scores, it's going to be often the academic stuff, which is going to be what's on the left-hand side, which means everything else is that right-hand section of great applications, the personal qualities. How do you share those personal qualities? Well, you share them by showing your activities, perhaps an honor or an award, some recognition. You show them through how your teachers write their recommendations. You show them through the personal statements and the supplemental essays that you write. You may have an interview. You may be able to submit a video, and you may have other opportunities to provide some additional information. But generally, it's going to be from your activities and honors recognition. It's going to be from your letters of recommendation from your teachers and counselors, and it's going to be the essays that you write, the stories that you share, where you can show those qualities. That's what's going to help the school, the university, go, oh, this is the right student. This is the right student. So when we think about these personal qualities, you're using your extracurricular leadership opportunities to show that you've developed them, you've practiced them, you've honed them, and then you can show them how that's happened. So The list on the left-hand side, I want to be very clear, is not a tick box. It's not a checklist. Don't say, oh, well, I've got to do my independence thing. Oh, next I've got to do my collaboration thing. Oh, next I got to do my motivation thing. No, 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 no. But just pick a couple. Pick a couple. And you might go, gosh, you know what? I didn't realize it, but when I was doing that thing, that thing, that extracurricular leadership thing that I was doing, I guess you're right. I guess it does show my commitment. Hey, and when I was doing that other thing, that other extracurricular leadership thing, now that you mention it, I guess you're right. It does show that I was community building. So you're doing what you want to do, and as you reflect on it, you then go, oh, wow, it does relate to this personal quality or that personal quality. And then how do you show it? You show it in your personal statement, supplemental questions, your letters of recommendation, etc. So you're using your extracurricular leadership opportunities to show the qualities that are listed there on the left-hand side, and then you're using the vehicles on the right-hand side to be able to share and show that to a school, okay? Now, specific to the letters of recommendation, you want to make sure that you have a good relationship with your teacher who knows you well enough, both inside and outside the classroom, to be able to talk more broadly about you and maybe one of these qualities that you've been developing. So the teacher whom you ask for your recommendation, well, he or she is going to have a slightly narrower view of you. Again, hopefully it should absolutely 100% be beyond you in the classroom. It should be you in the classroom and you as part of the school community, if not more. But remember that your teacher who agrees to write a letter of recommendation, well, she doesn't see the entire application that you're putting together. So you need to help her and say, teacher, first of all, thank you for agreeing to write a letter of recommendation for me. I'm going to, in my essay, talk about this. And I'm going to, in my supplemental question, talk about this other thing. What's missing from my application is this thing that we worked on in class, or that this thing that we worked on in this project that I believe shows this particular quality, which again is missing from the other parts of my application because I'm focusing on this thing or this other thing, right? So you are bringing this teacher into the bigger picture of what you are putting together in your application. Now, when you're talking about the different colleges and universities, you've got to make sure that 100% of them are a good fit for you. 100% of them are a good fit. However, we can break down that list, and we notice that in order to have a balanced list, we need to go for it, shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon in honor of Artemis and the Artemis 2 mission. We were going to shoot for the moon, but then we also are going to have some solid match target schools, but then also maybe some safety schools. All right, so what does that really mean? Well, what that means is that we're looking at some of the different profiles. Notice how this is starting to blend because we talked about you building your profile. Well, what you're going to do when you reach this stage of the roadmap is you're going to look at your profile, which you've been working on for many years, and you're going to say, okay, my profile, how does that match or fit the average profile of University X or University Y or University Z? And then you got to be brutally honest with yourself, and you've got to say, my profile matches. My profile is lower. My profile is higher. And that's what helps you to set that reach, the target, and the safety. Now, you definitely do not want to be applying to too many universities. Generally, I recommend that students apply to 8, 9, okay, maybe 10. Okay, and there can be some exceptions where you might apply to one fewer or one more, but you don't want to apply to too many. Remember, you can only go to one. You can only go to one school, so it doesn't do you any good to apply to too many universities, because come on. Now, when you have this balanced list, and when you do it right, and of course you will do it right, when you do it right, you will 100% be accepted at 5 or 6 schools. And when you do it right, you will absolutely be rejected by 1 or 2 schools. When this happens, you know you've done it right. You've put together that balanced list because you found the boundary. You found the boundary, and then you're able to take a step back, take the 6 or so letters of acceptance, and then make the determination for which university you'll commit to. Remember, any university on your list is a fit. You'd be delighted to go to any of them. But you'll take those 6, let's say, that you were accepted to, and then you'll take a step back, and then you'll make your decision on which one to commit to, and you'll base it on a lot of different factors. Maybe one of the universities gave you a financial aid award. Oh, okay. So then now that's another piece of information that helps you to start to narrow it down, as it were, right? So we talk about the fact that there is a thing called financial fit. So when we list their affordability, that is certainly something that we understand is part of that decision-making matrix. All right. Now, it is important to know that there are deadlines. Some schools have early admission options. And I'm not going to go into that because that's a very long and complicated topic. By the way, maybe we'll have a separate section, or a separate session, rather, I should say, to talk about early admission options. But I'm listing it here just so that you know some universities have an early application option. Some don't. Okay, and then you have some that just have a regular admission deadline. You have some that have this concept of a rolling admission, where they're making decisions as applications come in, and then it's very strategic in that instance to try to apply sooner within the cycle rather than later. But again, these are just things to keep in mind. We won't go into too much more detail about that. Now, here's something that's interesting, because you're all using AI. And by the way, I hope you are all using AI, because it's an amazing tool. But you need to use the right tool for the right job, right? The hammer is an amazing tool. The toothbrush is an amazing tool. You better not be using a hammer to brush your teeth, because that would be very bad. Okay? So we want to make sure that we're using the right tool for the right job. And our good friend Karen, by the way, maybe you've heard of this school. Maybe you've heard of Princeton University. Oh, yeah, I've heard of Princeton University. Well, guess what? Our good friend Dean Richardson says, hey, everybody, AI is pretty amazing, but it is not the right tool for your application. It is not the right tool to use for writing a personal statement. That is not using the right tool for the right job. And she notes that your application, and you may not know this, you are signing your application saying that this is 100% your work. If you're using AI, it's not. So she's reminding you that when you sign your application, which you do, you are saying that this is 100% your work. And if it is not 100% your work, then that's bad. And if that is found out, then your application will be withdrawn. If you're even given an acceptance, that acceptance will be rescinded. So we just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, using the right tools for the right job. Okay. So there are these selective schools that we talked about. And these selective schools are rejecting students who are valedictorians of their high school. These universities are rejecting students who have a perfect SAT score. All right. Well, what they're telling us is that this isn't a meritocracy. This isn't simply the highest number wins. What they're telling us is that it's a mix of things. It's what's called a holistic application process. That's what they call it. They call it a holistic application process, which means that, sure, numbers are important, but numbers are not everything. And you need to make sure that you recognize this holistic process so that you're developing your grades and your test scores and these qualities and skills equally, so that you can put together an application that shows that you're not just a great student. Oh, no. You're the right student, because it's the right student that gains admission. All right, I'm ending exactly where we started. And where we started was this concept that said there's a roadmap. And when we look at the left-hand side, we've got to get to know ourselves. And that could be trying a lot of things, experimenting, a bit of discovery. And then we move over to this next thing that says, okay, well, what do I enjoy doing? What do I enjoy studying? And what direction do I want to take my education? And it may or may not lead to a particular career path. Again, you can approach it from different angles. You might think of a career path, or you might just think of a a field of study. Okay, and then what does that lead to? Well, then that leads to how I have to, with intention, develop my profile. With intention, develop my profile and think about how I can then communicate that profile onto my application, which takes us to 4, right? The next step. And showing, not telling, showing through my application that I am the right student. So we did a lot. We went through that roadmap and we covered a lot. And we want to make sure and answer as many questions as we can. But before we do that, I'm going to hand off to my colleague, Kylie. And Kylie's going to share a few things with you. So, Kylie, take it away.
Thank you very much, Michael. This roadmap is really helpful in helping, hopefully, all of students of a range of ages that we have here tonight to plan ahead. As you can see, it's really, really important to start the process as early as you can, right? Because then you're opening up doors, as I know Michael usually says, right? You're kind of opening doors for yourself, and not limiting yourself to just one pathway or one option down the line. Because as Mr. Michael mentioned, maybe the career that you get into eventually isn't even here yet, right? So it's good to keep your options open and to know what can be helpful along the way, right? Because, especially being in the UAE, it's a very global location, and you guys are global people, global students. The sky is the limit. You can go anywhere in the world. So you want to prepare for pretty much anything in anywhere, right? And so what would that mean necessarily? Well, you want to explore what products and support you can get from anywhere you can. That could include test prep, as Mr. Michael mentioned. Tests are part of the application process down the line. No matter where you're going, IB curriculum has these IB tests. If you have an American curriculum schools, they have APs. And then beyond that, there are these other standardized tests. I'm sure you've heard of SAT and ACT, proficiency exams, IELTS, TOEFL, right? But for UK as well, if you want to go into medical school, you need to take the UCAT, right? If you want to go into law school, you need to take the LNET. There are lots of standardized tests that you might need to prepare for ahead of time. And you definitely do not want to, prepare last minute for these things. You guys are here for a reason. Obviously, you want to think ahead about these things. So to know what you might need to prepare for, depending on what your passions, wherever they take you, then that is something that you need to know, that these are products that are offered, and they're for your success. We want you to be as successful as possible, right? That could include language prep as well. If you're planning to go to Germany, you need to learn German. And that will open up more doors for you as well. And career counseling too, right? So we can help with pretty much everything along the way. Obviously, depending on your grade, that will vary. But again, the earlier the better. So if you can start preparing, whether it's with our Early Edge program where we go over skills a little bit more than like test specific things, then you're ready when the test does come, because you have those skills already developed in grades 6 through 9, basically. If you take the PSAT in grade 10, then you're ready because you already had those skills developed. Or even if you later down the road, you're like, you know what, I have been looking at Germany. My family has said, hey, have you thought about going to these various countries? Okay, well then language is not something you can learn overnight. It is something that you have to develop over time, and you can't cram for it. So you do need to plan ahead of time if you are even thinking about it, because even in the end, let's say you don't go to Germany, well, at least now you know German. There's nothing wrong with knowing another language. That's only going to add to your profile and add to, who knows down the line where that could fit in. It just opens up more options for you down the line, and that's always a good thing, right? And then once you get to that end of the line, right? Once you're ready to apply, and gain admission, in grade 11 and grade 12, when you start to think about those things, that's when you hit up Miss Seema, and she can definitely help you with that, and she can help you level up your college admissions. As I said, as Ms. Ritu has mentioned, and Mr. James has mentioned as well, that I do help with the college admissions process, but Ms. Seema, I'm going to introduce here to kind of go over the college admissions programs that we offer. So take it away, Ms. Seema.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carly. And after having such a wonderful information session from Mr. Michael and also Ms. Kylie, making us understand that how starting early helps. Well, let me begin with this, that every child can achieve. Yeah, that's what our logo is. As you can see, every child can achieve, and definitely we can achieve when we can plan early. So we as ScorePlus, as we have collaborated with AI, we have worked extensively and closely with AI grade 12 cohort who have been successful in getting admissions worldwide. Many of the AI students have been accepted to one of the elite schools in US, not only in USA, but also to United Kingdom, Singapore, European countries. And this is possible when early planning helps. So as you can see the timeline, grade 6 to 9 is the time when you explore. As Mr. Michael said, know your unique self. This is the time to explore, to discover personal attributes. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Okay, my weakness is, hey, I'm not doing that good in math. Fine, get into early edge plan and strengthen your math foundation. I need some help in languages. When you start early, as also Ms. Kylie said, learning language is a gradual process. It cannot be done overnight. And you don't want to be cramped when you're in grade 11 and 12, doing your IBs, doing your CAS project, assignments. So when you start early, you get multiple options. You get options to choose. You get options to plan accordingly. So areas for improvement, favorite subjects, digital citizenship is something you can start as early from grade 6 to 9. Grade 10, yes, you have now stepped into grade 10. You just have 2 more years to go. So this is the time where you can explore your multiple intelligence and careers. Do I want to get into sciences? Or I'm good with business? Or do I want to integrate the two? Learn different options as what the emerging future careers you can explore. Learn about different careers. Learn, do you have the required employability skills? Now, employability skills for grade 10 is, am I college ready? Will this college employ me? And what skills do I have? Do I have the right standardized tests? Do I have the right language program? Do I have the required science foundation skills? Or do I have the right math foundation skills? Introducing to the university application process, learn about pre-university programs, get into the summer schools, explore internship, and in grade 11, definitely you need to have some hands-on experience by participating in work experience or getting real life experience into the job market. What you study in the class and what you explore at job. You may just be doing a shadowing job, but that gives you the real exposure. Building portfolio, brainstorming personal statement. When it comes to a college application process, there are many essays that you need to write. Yeah, UCs will have 4 essays, and if you're applying through Common App, you have one essay and then multiple college-specific essays. UCAS is also going through changes which ask you about your motivational skills. So start thinking, rebuild your writing skills or evolve through your writing skills. How you can improve writing. What are the college essay writing topics? What stories do I have to share to these universities? Start early. And this is what you should look into and you should focus when you're in grade 11. Grade 12, it's time to dive into the application process, right? There is no anxiety, you're not overwhelmed. Hey, you have planned early, you've been in this process right from grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, and you comfortably submit your application. So, working on different platforms definitely helps. And we as Corplus, it's been our pleasure to help students in their college application journey. So as you can see, our deliverables right from psychometric tests. It's knowing your own self. First is to do your self-assessment. And as Mr. Michael said, do your own self-assessment, introspection, speak with your families and friends, uh, try and understand what they think about you, what they think are your strengths and weaknesses that you can work on. But then take also the psychometric test, a scientific test that will help you understand your strengths and weaknesses and help you to rebuild and evolve your career path. So profile building, making you understand the different majors. Where do you fit in? The right fit. Is this major the right fit for you? Do you have the required academic ability? Do you have the right personal abilities to take these majors? Country destinations. Different countries have different requirements. So understand the country requirements through Scoreplus. When it comes to US, how do you plan yourself? If you're interested towards European countries, then which European country are you leaning at? When you start as early as grade 9, you can also focus on language building and master your languages by taking the B1 or C1 or C2 level as you reach grade 11 or grade 12. The prerequisite test and timeline. So when it comes to career and college admissions counseling, we divide it into 3 stages. That is the pre-application stage, is the planning stage, understanding yourself and getting to know what your goals are. what your destinations are. Then comes the application stage, university shortlisting. Get a balanced fit. Do you have a balanced college list? Most of the students and parents, they come to us with their dream universities. It's always good to have dream universities in the list. But is it really feasible to have all 8 or 10 universities that you're applying, dream universities in your list? So as Mr. Michael mentioned in this presentation, is it the right fit college for you? Caltech, are you more of Caltech or are you more of an MIT student? So this is where the university shortlisting comes from our experience, from our expertise. Is it the right university for you based on the geographical location, based on your personality, based on what your parents want, based on the budget preference and the majors what you look at? Documentation, get to know the right documentation and don't miss out on the documentation deadlines. As such, inviting your recommenders well beforehand. If the university application deadline is on Jan 2nd and when the school has gone on Christmas leave, that's not the time when you invite your recommenders, but you give them well in advance. So get to know the right documentation well in advance. Application workshops. The different applications have different types of workshop. Common App is so different from how you apply to the UCs. When you're applying to the UK, UCAS has got different requirements. Get to know about these different types of applications through our application workshops, followed by one-on-one counseling. And yes, the most premium part of the application is essay brainstorming. How to present your stories, application check and submissions. And after you do that, then comes the post-application stage. The main part is done, and then comes the most confusing part, right? You apply to your 10 universities and you've got offers from 5. Where do I go? What do I do next? How do I present my financial documents? And how to apply for visa? So with Scoplus, you can be rest assured that right from pre-application stage to the post-application stage, we'll walk you through. And it's been a wonderful journey working with grade 12 students, with AI students, and we hope to work with all of you all right from grade 6 to grade 12. It would be a pleasure to be part of your college application journey in this. So yes, we have our branches all over. So here in UAE, we are put up at Oud Mehta and also at Jumeirah Lake Towers. We have one office in Sharjah and also in Abu Dhabi. This is about us, and any questions that you would want to ask regarding today's presentation, college application process.
Yes, I see we've got a question in the Q&A. So again, everybody, please take advantage of the Q&A section to submit your questions. So this first one, and I'll go ahead and stop sharing so we can go to the questions better. And this one talks about a student, thankfully a younger student, in this case grade 7, who loves all kinds of different subjects. Great. Now the question ultimately is, well, should I help him focus on one? Not yet. Now again, if we were having this discussion and you said that your son was in grade 10, I'd say yes. But grade 7, no, this is exactly the point in time where you're going to want to experiment and discover and just love all of the wild variety of different subjects, from world history to physics to whatever, to art to drawing. Don't worry, things will start to settle in again. If we were having this discussion and you said your son was in grade 10, you'd get a different answer. So I love that he's so excited about so many different subjects. Encourage it, embrace it, let him start to settle into 1 or 2 or 3, which is what will naturally occur as he starts to move into grade 8, grade 9, etc. So, all right. Psychometric test. Seema, Ritu, who wants to take that one? What is the best grade to get to do the psychometric testing?
Psychometric testing, what is the best grade? We have different levels of psychometric testing. Ms. Ritu, would you want to mention this? Grade 8, grade 9, grade 10?
Sure. That's a really good question. And of course, as you emphasized on this in your presentation, I would encourage the parents to do the psychometric test in grade 8 and potentially, wait until another 2 years to repeat the test to see a difference. So as part of our support to the AIA school, we would be administering the psychometric testing. And we're very excited about this because that would be the first step after this conversation today. We'll be working very closely with Ms. Manisha from the Middle Years program. And so I would say that hang in there. You would be receiving a communication very soon from the leadership about this. But yes, psychometric testing would be happening very soon. And
Great,
of
thank
course,
you.
it's not only open to grade 8. I mean, I think when we would be sending out the invitation, it would be open to all the grade levels. So from grade 8 to grade 11, in case you're still, as Michael said, and everyone said, and even Kylie, Seema, that of course by grade 11 and grade 12, you should be knowing where you stand. But even if you're not sure about it, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I think we are always discovering ourselves and our interests, and our personality keeps changing. So we're going to even open that all to the other grade levels, the higher grade levels.
Great. Now we have another question here where we have a daughter who likes biology and history. She is in grade 10. And what can be options? Well, this is a very good question, and I love that it was asked, so thank you very much. This is an opportunity to really dig in. You don't have to choose. You're not in a position where you have to say biology or history. Now, again, you didn't give me a list of 27 different subjects. You have 2, biology and history. And yeah, they are different, but I love, 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 love that they're different in different ways. Biology being a bit more scientific, history, which is a bit more, again, history is a reading heavy, an analysis, a critical thinking type of discipline. So for a student to develop both of those is fantastic. Now, whatever she decides to do, someone who has these varied interests is an interesting person, because how many bio people do you know who just do bio? And how many history people do you know who just do history? Well, we know a lot of those people because that's what they do. How many bio people do you know who also love history? How many history people do you know who also love bio? Not too many. And that's interesting to me. That's interesting. And if I wear my hat, my college admission hat, oh, this is an interesting student who stands out from the crowd, because I don't often see that. And I love that she has an opportunity and enjoys doing things that actually are different disciplines, require different skills, and that's exciting. Absolutely love it.
Can I add something really quick?
Oh,
here?
please, Kylie, jump in. Yes.
Since, I do work very closely with the students, and this is kind of one of their main concerns, is that it's like, do I have to choose? I like both. Maybe instead of thinking about like what are her options, quote unquote, because those options can change, have her maybe do a deeper introspection, knowing herself. Yeah, it's grade 10, but it's never too late, as Miss Ritu said. Have her think about what she likes specifically about biology. What does she like specifically about history? And that's what's more important, because biology is a very broad As Mr. Michael mentioned before, like it could be a medical biology, it could also be environmental sciences. Like there's a range of things. So instead of having her kind of like look at what options does she have, I think she still should look at what exactly does she find so interesting and what does she want to explore deeper in those categories of biology. Like, is it the medical side, or is it the environmental science side, or is it about history? Is it more of the politics? Is it about society? What exactly is intriguing about those subjects? And then that might open up more options naturally.
Great ad. Absolutely fantastic, Kylie. You are spot on. We have another question here about, I'm assuming this is from a parent saying, hey, what about starting something and then losing interest? And then how do we help maybe encourage our students to stick with something? This is a little bit tricky. This is a little bit tricky, we admit, because obviously if a student struggles at something, well, we don't want them to just give up, okay? You got to kind of stick through it, work through the bumps. And this is a little bit difficult to navigate. There is no one answer that I can give to say, well, in this case, let it go. And in this other case, push to stick with it, get through the rough parts. The only thing I will add before I hand off to my colleagues to see what they want to add is that if we think about school helps us with this. School is going to help us with this quite a bit, right? Because, Mom, I don't like math. Well, you got to take it. You got to take a minimum amount of math. Mom, I don't like English. Well, you got to take a minimum amount of English, right? There are these minimum amounts of study that are required for you. And by the way, if you're doing IB diploma, wow, those minimum amounts are actually pretty intense. And then you'll push through the rough spots. When it comes to some of the extracurriculars, it's a little bit squishier. Again, there is no pat answer to your question. You're going to have to maybe trust a little bit of a gut, a little bit of an instinct to see where you might want to push to go through rough spots, and other times where you drop it. But any of my colleagues, would you care to add? Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Kylie, jump in.
Yeah, I was just gonna add maybe, as Mr. Michael said, there isn't one. I mean, each student is going to be very individual. I would recommend, again, maybe exploring deeper. Why do they lose the focus? And maybe that can help you guys have a discussion, right? Like if you're the parent who's asking this, have that discussion with your child about why do they struggle to stay focused on this one thing? What about it is, maybe they feel defeated, they don't want to do it anymore, they're just not interested in this anymore, then that would, change your answer as far as like what direction should you take. If they really just hate the thing now, you might want to reevaluate, right? But if it's just because, they've been failing at it lately, okay, maybe it is something that you should push them to push through. So it's on an individual basis for sure.
Yeah, it really is individual. Thank you. So we have a question here that says, I like marine biology and law. Okay. May I share something with you? I would like to share that I have a master's degree in marine science, economics, and international law. Now, people might say, well, that's a weird combination. Is it really weird? Well, it's not so weird, because what I studied was, let's take, for example, fisheries, the biology of fisheries, and the fact that fish swim all around the world. So now you need to know international law. And of course, there's the economics involved with fisheries and sustainability and things of that nature. So the fact that you love marine biology and you love law, there's all kinds of things that you can do with that. Again, you're not giving me a list of 27 different things. Because if you're giving me a list of 27 different things, then we're going to say, well, depending on your grade, you're going to probably start to narrow it down. But you're talking about 2 things. Great, pursue them. And then, like Kylie added in that previous question, think about the specific elements. Because, marine biology, are you talking about marine biology like fisheries or more sustainability? Or there's a million different ways in which that can be defined. And then, of course, law. In my example, it was international law because, like I said, fish don't have boundaries and they're going to go all over the place. So it's more appropriate to be studying that. So lots of different opportunities. I love it. Go for it. Full speed ahead. Okay, so we have another question here about technology and business and all of that. Well, I'm missing a little bit. I can't quite answer. I don't think that we can quite answer because I don't know what grade you're in. Because you'll notice that for all of our answers, or for a lot of things, it's really understanding the grade that then helps us to provide a bit more counsel because of this roadmap. So maybe if you want to add that, that would be helpful. But in the meantime, we've got another question here about someone in grade 10 and very interested in pursuing law, but you also like chemistry. Again, this is wonderful because you have an opportunity to study subjects that people might think aren't connected. Everything is connected. Absolutely everything is connected. I'll hand off to my colleagues here in just a moment, but when I think of chemistry, and law, well, now I'm thinking of maybe patents for pharmaceuticals. Oh, that's interesting, because if you're doing patent law for pharmaceuticals, you need to know the chemistry and you need to know the law. And it's going to take a rare breed to be able to be good at both of those. And the fact that you love those is, again, fantastic. So don't feel that you need to put yourself in a box. Leave yourself wide open. And again, you didn't give me a list of 27 different things. You talked about 2 things, chemistry and law, and you're saying it like they're 2 weird, totally separate things. Well, they don't have to be separate. They can be absolutely tied in. And I just gave you one example, the pharma example, right, of patent law and medicines and things of that nature. But there are millions more. Okay, I don't know if my colleagues have anything to comment there. Okay, what other questions do we have? Amir, I see you have your hand up.
This might be a lazy question, but I have to answer. What I do have to do right now in grade 7? Technology and business international and worldwide is what I want to do. I also do sub-careers like investing in my own free time. And I use AI all the time. What do I have to do right now in grade 7?
Amir, that's great. You're doing it. You're absolutely doing it. I love it. You're enjoying using technology. You're pursuing your interest in both technology and business. You're doing everything you need to be doing at this stage. By the way, I do hope that you're also keeping your grades up. I do hope that you're, being a good student, but also being a good community member within AIA. So
Yes,
sounds to
I'm
me
a
like
community member. I'm
Good.
a well council.
Excellent. No, it sounds to me that you are doing all those things that you should be doing at this stage. So just keep it up. You'll find that your interests will continue to evolve, and just go with it and enjoy it. I love it.
I have to take it as an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. You are already. Okay.
Thanks. That's
by
all
the
I
way,
have to say.
very good. You're welcome. All right. So I am mindful of the time. Wow. How perfect is that? We are right on the money. Thank you, everybody. whom am I handing off to for some closing remarks? But thank you everyone for your patience. I'm glad we were able to get through some questions. Look forward to any other sessions that we might be part of. I wish everybody the best of luck.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael, for your time today. We appreciate it, as always.
Thank you very much, Michael, Seema, Kylie, and of course, a big thanks to the entire AI team, especially Gauri, who's there with us all along. Thank you. And Gauri, I think we have many questions coming in. So hopefully we could, have the students or parents potentially write to us if they want to after the session, and maybe some questions could be answered by Michael later on. But thank you very much, Ms. Sharmista. Good evening. Hope you're well. Thank you for, being patient with us. I know you have been working around with this program. I'm very grateful for this conversation. I think this was really needed. The early is early. So thank you. This is very nice. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
just want to
Bye-bye.
thank
Oh.
all of you, the Scoplus team, Michael, Ritu, Kylie, Seema, and it was an amazing presentation. Michael, I always enjoy your sessions, and this is not the first time that I attended, but every time I learn something new. And parents and students, this is an amazing opportunity that AIA is collaborating with Score Plus and Princeton Review, and to give the best, to create the best pathway for your children. So this was actually not our first one. We've been working with them for the last 2 years now, a couple of years. But we want to, as our student population grows, this year we have our first grade 12 batch graduating next year. So it's just 25, but next year it's 75, and then it's growing. And therefore, we need to we're creating a strong team to support all our students and start early from grade 6, because I passionately believe the more earlier we begin to explore, the better we are and more prepared as the students reach grade 10, 11, 12. So thank you, parents, for taking time out. Please do write to us. Please don't hesitate. If you need to meet any of us, please just set up a meeting, and we are all there for you and your children. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, team, and good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.